Hey, kia ora koutou whānau, ki te piha koe. Hope you're all doing well, and it's so good to have you back again for another edition of Big Hero News. Chewy, good evening.
Good evening, Pat. How are you?
I'm actually a bit kind of, I was just, before we started, I got out my my refill paper, my secondary school refill paper, because we've been talking about Finance Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs as kind of the big positions to fill. But as I just was having a bit of a look through the ministers' list from the last government, social development, education, broadcasting, health, climate change, conservation, minister for police, they're all pretty massive roles. And who the fuck knows who's going to fill any of those on Black Friday? Of course, the reason it is Black Friday now is we have a new government signing a deal on Black Friday, a government that's going to sell the country, it would seem, as they can no longer get a foreign bias tax. So so anyway, hi, kia ora whānau. Welcome back, everybody. Good to see you all. And then you got to start to think, if they're the big positions, you know, you've got the coalition of cookers, and if you've got, you know, ACT and New Zealand First in there, who's going to do what? Because if it ends up being, 20 positions, you know, 12, 13 of them are national, 3 of them are ACT, 2 of them are New Zealand First, whatever the numbers are, 4 of them are ACT, 3 of them are New Zealand First. You end up, because I would think in negotiations, if I was the leader of a small party, I'd also be going, you know, respectfully, we want at least one of the big positions. We're not going to go with none of these, you know, Minister for Statistics. No thanks. And look, there's even ones I haven't mentioned. Minister for Courts, for Commerce and Consumer Affairs, Economic Development. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. And I guess a good part of the first part of the show, we're going to be having a think about what's happening tomorrow, maybe have a bit of a look at what's happening tomorrow. And we don't know. We don't officially have a show tomorrow night, but I don't know. Maybe we'll jump in for a half hour and cover it off. So if you haven't hit whatever platform you're watching on, if you haven't hit that notification yet, whatever it is on YouTube, it's the bell, and subscribe to the channel, then make sure you do. Because if we pop in tomorrow, we might not do it at 9 o'clock. We might just do it at a convenient time for both of us. Maybe it'll be in the afternoon. I don't know. So make sure you subscribe and hit that bing, ring that bell, ding that hooter, whatever it is. So if we do jump on tomorrow to have a bit of a chat, I mean, maybe we'll see if some others want to jump in and have a bit of a chat as well and do a bit of a roundup. We'll see. Nothing promised, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, there's a bit of a long-winded way of saying, "G'day, Chewy. How are you? How are you, man?"
Hello. Yes, well, I'm fine. It's a funny old day, eh? The weather's cracked up. We've had a bunch of cruise ships in town, and those people don't know how to use footpaths at the best of times. So I spent most of the day in a low rage, I think. And then I got home, and my body has gone. It is Nano's time. You need to grab a corner of a duvet and turn yourself into a big burrito. I feel privileged to be here. I remembered to wake up in time.
Nice. Had a coffee? What did you have? Red Bull.
No, I haven't done anything of those. No,
Red Bull and vodka.
Just here out of spite and nothing else.
Let's just say a huge thanks to our patrons. Love you guys to bits. Thanks for being on board. Appreciate what you do. I have sent out, as promised last night, a meetup email. So all of you who are paid patrons should have received an email for a meetup on Saturday morning. So therefore, if we don't do something tomorrow night, then if you're a paid patron, we can have our own little private talk about the government on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. If you're not a patron and you'd like to be involved in that meetup, if you're not a paid patron, then all you need to do is head to patreon.com/Big Hairy News to become a patron. That's sort of how it works. Yeah. So shall we have a look? Oh gosh, what have I done there? I've pushed play on something. What's happening here, Chewy? I've just done something, and this is what's popped up on my other screen. I have no idea what it is.
That's us.
That is us, but I don't know why it's popped up.
That's past us.
Yeah.
We're wearing different clothes.
It's Inception. I have literally no idea.
Spider-Verse type thing.
Into the Spider-Verse. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just going to close it. I hope I haven't just closed all my tabs down. That would really suck. I know I haven't. That's good.
Fucking hell. Good show, everybody. See you next week.
Also, as a reminder to everyone, Discord is open tonight. Let me get the link for you and put it in the chat. We would love to come and say good day to you. If you want to say good day back again in Discord, there it is. I've just put it in all the chats. And now what I'll do is I'll actually connect to Discord to make sure people can hear us. There we go. I've now connected to Discord. And all you need to do is jump into Discord, jump into the waiting room, and we'll come and have a chat with you. Normally in the second half of the show, I'd really like to have a chat with someone. It's great. We all get together and we have a good old chin wag. A lot of the times in our Discord, what we get is people who sort of agree with us. If you're someone who doesn't, we would love to have a chat with you as well. Always respectful here and get your other views. There does seem to be, it's funny when people see you on a social media platform, Chewy, and you put out an idea or a thought and they immediately assume all of these things, like that you have been saying that Labour is going to win for the last 12 months and all these things. It's like, go to bed and cry. And it's like, well, actually, we've been saying, to be fair, we've been saying probably for a year, it's a 51% national chance, 49% Labour, and that grew to like 60-40. So I think we've always been saying National was the likely candidate here. Doesn't mean that was our favourite result. But it's interesting when you put one tweet out, you can tell the people, it's like, show me you're not a fan of the show or tell me you're not a fan of the show without telling me you're not a fan of the show. That's the people who come out and they say one thing based on one tweet and they have nothing to do with the background. Like, oh yeah, but what about Hamas? It's like, yeah, we get it. You've just shown me you're not a fan of the show without showing me you're not a fan of the show. Anyway, so yeah, if you're interested, happy to have a constructive and polite conversation with people in a different political camp from us. Head to Discord, jump in the waiting room. We probably won't do it till the second part of the show. I've only got 2 stories tonight and then Discord. And then we can have a chat if you like. So Discord and jump into the waiting room. Shall we just, yeah, but we are almost there, aren't we? We are almost there.
Look at that rancid piece of vegetable.
Are you talking about Jerry Brownlee again?
No, no. This one is wasting away.
Well, let us have a look at the stories. We're going to watch both the TVNZ story and the Newshub story tonight because they both kind of give a summation of what's going to be happening tomorrow. And when we come back, we're going to have a little bit of a conversation with Jarl. So get Jarl thinking hats on about what's going to happen tomorrow. Who's going to be the Prime Minister? Yeah. Minister of Finance, Minister of Broadcasting. Who will be Minister of Broadcasting, actually? That's interesting. I don't know. And so on. So we're keen to get your thoughts on that as well. Let's go to Newshub and have a look at their breaking news, which is about the coalition for Black Friday, the Black Friday Coalition.
Kia ora, good afternoon and welcome to this Newshub breaking special. After 20 days of tough negotiations, a coalition deal has been reached to form New Zealand's next government. National Act and New Zealand First have agreed to the terms of a deal, but it now needs to be formally ticked off by the parties' respective boards. We're going to go live now to our political editor, Jenna Lynch, who is standing by at Parliament. It's been a long 20 days for you, Jenna. What do we know about this deal?
Absolutely nothing at this stage, Sam. They're keeping everything under wraps. The only thing that they have told us is, as you said, that the negotiations have wrapped and those deals have now gone off to the party boards to sign off. Now, subject to agreement by those boards, there will be a signing ceremony for the deals held here at Parliament tomorrow. I spoke to David Seymour earlier and he said the ACT Party board had already been satisfied with the deal that he had shown them up until this point. So that is one party ticked off. National and New Zealand First still need to get this through their respective boards, and then we are all go. We have a government finally.
Yes, 40 days on since the election day.
I think TVNZ's report says 40 days and 40 nights. And I thought, yeah, that's appropriate for an evangelical Christian to be the Prime Minister. That's what it's literally been, I think, 40 days and 40 nights. So there you go.
Itself. So was that signing?
Shane Jones said. Shane
Right,
Jones
was it?
said that in a comment. No. He just hit him with Bible verses and then handed out a weird candy bar called Payday. And it was like, what the fuck is going on here?
See, he's one of the ones to talk about. What will he be? Because he's obviously number 2 in New Zealand First, and not a lot of people. There is a feeling that Winston Peters is kind of building him up to obviously take over the next time around. And who will he be? Shane Jones? I don't know. Seeing they're going to get rid of the Pacific People's Ministry. I don't know. They've got no Pacific Islanders in their caucus. Oh, mind you, ACT and New Zealand First may have. So we'll see. All right, we'll keep going.
Off of the boards, is it just a formality, or could there be some sticking points in there?
In some cases, it will be just a formality. I understand the National Party Board has been kept pretty well abreast of the negotiations as they have developed. So in that case, it may be a case of rubber stamping it. As I said before, the ACT Party's board has already satisfied what they need to do under their constitution. So they're all sorted. New Zealand First is a little bit less clear as to whether or not their board might have some disagreements with what is in those agreements. Now, obviously, that final sticking point came down to ministerial roles. That appears to have been sorted over the course of the day. Christopher Luxon showed up this morning at Parliament. It was a reasonably cloudy day. He said it was glorious. It looked like it was all go for today. They were hoping to actually have an announcement and some kind of agreement revelation today, but they haven't been able to get their ducks in a row to get that done. So as I said, they're going to do that formal part of that tomorrow, though Christopher Luxon is due to talk to media at about 4:45 this afternoon to give a quick update on where things go from here.
Okay, we'll certainly be across that on newshub.co.nz. We know Winston Peters was the last of the trio to land in
Yeah, Winston was interesting today. Actually, Winston looked like an ass today because he was playing an ass. Because up until now, there's been a certain vibe around Winston as being a bit of an elder statesman. But today it was just like, what do they say? The cat who had the cream, he was smarmy, and it was just like, it was ugly. Him kind of going, I know something you don't know, and just can't. We'll see, because this report was obviously from this afternoon, when the announcement was made that there was going to be an announcement. The announcement for the announcement, but the one news that we watch is obviously the one news story from 6 o'clock tonight, which is why we're doing them both, so we get an update. What happened at the time and what happened at 6 o'clock.
Wellington to make it to the capital. He arrived this afternoon. What was his demeanour like? Did he have much to say?
Smarmy.
It's always a bit of a gamble of what Winston Peters you're going to get when he gets off a plane. He didn't want to talk to the waiting journalists at Auckland Airport as he left. He didn't want to talk to the waiting journalists at Wellington Airport when he landed. He didn't want to talk to the waiting journalists at the Treasury building when he showed up, but he did come out a short time later and he actually revealed that he was finished negotiating. He wouldn't say whether a deal had been met, but he said he was finished negotiating with National. So Winston Peters, the other obviously question for him there has been whether or not he or David Seymour have managed to secure that Deputy Prime Minister's role. I've
got a pretty good theory on that, Joey. I'm not going to do it now, but just stick around. I reckon I know what they're going to do. I reckon.
Okay.
I've got a feeling. Every time I get a feeling about politics, it's wrong. So probably when I tell you what I think, the opposite will happen. So you can take it either way. You can say, oh, that'll mean the opposite will happen. Or you can go, oh, that's pretty good logic there, Pat. So we'll see.
Caught up with David Seymour as he is exiting the building. I'm hearing from the team outside. He said he is very happy. We asked him whether he was the Deputy Prime Minister and he said, not at the moment, but I may be in future. So read into that what you will.
Well, it sounds like he's giving a little bit away there. He has been happy for most of the day. Jenna, just very quickly, 20 days of negotiations, almost 6 weeks since the election. These talks have not been easy, have they?
They've certainly not been easy. They've moved from Wellington to Auckland to Wellington to Auckland, and that is just the logistics of the talks. But behind closed doors, these three parties have been going through line by line of each of their party manifestos and deciding what is in and what is out. They have obviously learned from the 2017 to 2020 term that everything that you want to get done has to be in an agreement signed, sealed by Winston Peters if you want to have a shot at getting through a government. You can't start progressing stuff that doesn't exist in a coalition deal. So they've been locked up behind closed doors, nutting out policy for a very long time. Then they moved on to this tricky negotiation of how to actually work in a three-way coalition. That has not been done in New Zealand before. That was what they were working towards. We will obviously find out tomorrow what that looks like. But how they're able to disagree with each other in public is actually a really important part of how this government is going to work and last the distance. And then finally, getting to those portfolios. Everyone says they're not about the baubles until the baubles are up for offer and you have to negotiate for them.
Yes, that's very fair.
That process to be wrapped up pretty quickly. That's the thing that has dragged this out an extra day into tomorrow. But they have finally come to agreement among the three parties. All we need is those boards to get ticking.
Thank you.
There you go. So that was the announcement this afternoon about an upcoming announcement. Love our news media. Hey guys, we're making a breaking news announcement that there's going to be a breaking news announcement. We're going to watch the One News.
Jenna? Fuck knows.
Yeah, we're going to use the One News. Watch the One News clip, and I'm holding. There's a lot of people. I'm not going to say whether this is my theory or not, but you saw me putting up the clips as that was going. There's a lot of people thinking two deputies. Chewy. That's not what I think. I'll put that out there. I'll do mine next. But what do you think about the idea of two deputies? We talked about this a couple of nights ago.
I can't see it personally, which probably means it's going to happen.
Well, I can't see it either. So maybe there's two of us means it's going to happen.
I mean, there's no precedence for it. I'm not sure if there's anything that actually stops them doing it. But if it was a sticking point, it would be a pretty good way to resolve it. You be Deputy Prime Minister for 1.5 years and I'll do the other half. And then we do a coin toss on who does it first.
So like that, I was thought you meant that two at the same time. I was thinking you just have to timeshare it. They could possibly do that, two at the same time, and then like designate that this person's in charge when I'm out of the country and this person runs, another responsibility. Runs. This person is the spokesperson when I'm out of the country, and this Deputy Prime Minister is in charge of caucus and stuff when I'm out of the country. Kind of give them both. I mean, like, to be honest with you, a CEO, he is basically just appointing kind of department managers doing it that way, isn't he? In some way.
Yeah. I can't see it being like, it'd be an interesting solution. It'd be potentially an elegant solution. But we've never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, but
so
before the Greens, I don't think we'd ever seen anything like a co-leadership arrangement within political parties either. And that seems weird. I don't. That's not my guess. I'll tell you my guess shortly. But right now, so that was the announcement that was made about the upcoming announcement before the news, where they talk about the announcement again was up this afternoon. And I thought to get the latest update on the no announcement, I will also watch one of the items from 6 o'clock, and then we'll have a big old chat about it. And while we're having a chat about it, you guys can think about, your thoughts. Lots of people already giving thoughts. Two deputies seems to be a pretty strong thought at the moment, but we'll go from there, and we'll have a chinwag next here on A Big Hairy News.
Late this afternoon, incoming Prime Minister Christopher Luxon announced the negotiations between the three coalition partners to form the next government are finally over. Parties were hoping to sign on the dotted line today, but yet again they faced delays. Political editor Jessica Much-Mackay has been across the toing and froing. Jess, talk us through what's happened in the last couple of hours.
For the first time this afternoon, we got a joint statement from Christopher Luxon, David Seymour and Winston Peters saying the negotiations were done.
That was actually the sticking point of the last 4 days. They couldn't agree to the statement to release to the public. That's the last 4 days what they've been talking about, apparently.
They have agreed on those ministerial portfolios and that we are on the eve of a signing of the coalition deal. A lot has happened today. This morning, they were still ironing out some of those details, but there are still 2 steps left in this process. Firstly, the party boards have to sign off on this, and then they need to get the okay from the Governor-General as well. The Prime Minister-elect made the announcement here at Parliament a short time ago. After 40 days and 40 nights, a deal's been done.
I'm very pleased to announce that we're in a position where we've concluded our negotiations with the respective parties. Those agreements are now before the parties for ratification, which we hope to have this evening.
But short on detail. Who will be your Deputy Prime Minister?
Again, all of that will be revealed tomorrow.
It does feel a little bit naff to me that they've announced that they're finished before they're announcing. I don't know. Just listening to that again, I watched my news tonight. Listening to that again, him coming out going like, yep, we're all wrapped up. We're ready to go. No comment. No comment. I just wonder if it had been all done tomorrow, just, here's the release and just got into it. But I guess
I think it would have been tidier, eh? I mean,
yeah.
at 9 o'clock, we're going into another day of negotiation. No, we're not. Here's the announcement. We're all well rested. Everything's all sorted. We've crossed the T's, we've dotted the I's. Bam. Cool. Talk about it today. See ya.
Yeah. Don't want to be critical for the sake of being critical. I'm just thinking maybe they have to do it this way. Maybe he's wanting to take some of the heat out of that. It's taking too long. But it would have been quite nice just to
I've never
run the
liked
announcement.
In various formats. I don't like it when movies release a teaser trailer for the trailer release.
Right.
I don't like signing up for a pre-sale on a ticket pre-order or that sort of thing. Just do the thing once.
Yeah.
It's enough.
Here's a thought. Normally we do our stories and then we open up Discord. If you want to speak specifically to us about this coalition tomorrow, jump into Discord now. And then when we finish this part of the story, we'll take some people in there if you want to have a bit of a chat. So all you need to do, as I look to my other screen because I wasn't going to do this, there it comes. There's Discord. See that? All you need to do is jump in. Oh gosh, I don't know what I just did. Something crazy. Jump into Discord here. Come over into here where WV King is already in the waiting room. Into the waiting room. Wait there, and then we'll have a bit of a chat with you after we finish up this story. I just thought we don't normally do it this way, but rather than kind of going through another story, which is about Gaza, and then trying to reference back to the first, which is doing now. If you want to talk about the government, the forming of the government, that kind of stuff, jump onto Discord, jump into the waiting room now, and we'll have a chat with you shortly-ish. Let's keep going with the news story.
Announcement coming late in the day after the final piece of the coalition puzzle arrived in Wellington. Still not keen to talk about his fight to be Deputy Prime Minister.
I'm not going to answer those questions.
Would you call? Would you?
It's totally wrong to answer those questions.
Would
now.
you?
As for the coalition negotiations,
A deal today?
Can you promise? Well, New Zealanders
must be hard for you not answering deals this afternoon.
annoying. Has the deal gone to the board?
It is very annoying when people ask stupid questions.
and with that, Mr. Peters.
It just seemed a little bit extra curmudgeon-y. Unless he didn't know, like if he literally didn't know, like just to say, today or tomorrow, there will probably be an announcement. I don't know. It just feels a little bit more cat's got the cream to me than usual. I don't know.
It was off to Parliament, announcing the talks were done and dusted. National MPs were briefed.
Was that about a deal being done?
Oh, that was just an update for our caucus, and obviously what we talk about at caucus stays at caucus.
Are we nearly there?
We're very, very close.
Ex-leader David Seymour believes he deserves the Deputy PM role.
Look, I'm not going to go into who's got what roles in the new cabinet, but that will be announced as soon as we're ready.
Others are backing the other horse.
If you look at the incoming government, one thing they don't have a great deal of, for understandable reasons, is experience, and Winston Peters brings a lot of experience. There's no question about it.
The outgoing Prime Minister clearly bemused.
It just means he's old, Chewy. He's old. He's had lots of trips around the sun.
Just how long it's taken Christopher Luxon to get here.
Well, they're making hard work of it, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a hold up over our Deputy Prime Minister there. What are your thoughts?
This is not a good look. Like, you lost, Chipkins. Like, this is where you graciously...
You can't take cheap shots. Like, we're all doing it. You just stay out of it.
Yeah, you just graciously go, when they're ready, I'm sure they'll be ready as long as it takes them.
I think if they had won and they had to form a coalition, and look, say they needed someone like Winston Peters, the shoe would be on the other foot.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
There. I understand from Christopher Luxon it's a largely ceremonial role. So one of the previous occupants of that might disagree with that assessment.
Yeah, it seemed like quite hard work when I did it. And they seem to have reached a bit of a stalemate there over Winston Peters and David Seymour. Who do you think would be better placed for the role?
I think the country just wants them to get on with it, frankly.
He might have a point.
It's making all of them look stupid. But Winston has got a bit of power still.
Way too long. Way too long.
If it takes 3 weeks, if it takes 4 weeks, that's how long it takes. But the world keeps spinning. The country's going to keep operating. We're okay. We'll get through it.
I think it's a shamble.
I like
the wait's nearly over.
Yeah, he was just like, whatever, get on with it. They'll get on with it. Yep. Seems pretty balanced, pretty fair.
One more sleep to go until Christopher Luxon delivers his new government.
Everything indicated today was meant to be the day, Jess. What happened?
I understand behind the scenes that National were deeply frustrated not to be able to get this done today. That was the hope, that was the plan. They weren't able to get it across the line. Christopher Luxon has made a 100% guarantee. We will have a signing ceremony here at Parliament tomorrow, which is a very good big call to make in politics. The reason he's so eager to get things going is because every day we're stuck in negotiations, the pressure grows on him and everything is pushed out further. For example, if we sign a deal here tomorrow at Parliament, and if we see that, then the MPs won't be back in the debating chamber until the 5th of December. That only gives them a couple of weeks to get things done before the Christmas break.
All right, ceremony tomorrow. What about the substance? What have you learned about what's going to be in the deal?
Nothing.
It's going to be a very detailed document. Basically, it will lay out the rules of engagement and how the parties will be able to disagree with each other over the next 3 years.
I reckon it's going to be muskets at 40 paces. I reckon that's how they're going to disagree. I mean, Winston grew up using muskets, so that's what I reckon. He'll have an advantage there. But
hey, Pat, fun little piece of New Zealand history here. Did you know that there was a pistol duel in Wellington once?
No.
Did you know that the one of the people that was involved in that pistol duel got shot in the dick? I love New Zealand history.
That's almost as good as being hit by a dildo while trying to speak to the media.
We're also going to get the full suite of ministerial portfolios tomorrow as well. One thing that's really interesting is that David Seymour and Winston Peters don't know exactly what each other have secured when it comes to portfolios.
That's weird.
So it will be a surprise for them tomorrow as well.
All right. That's a bit weird because you would think that'd be a part of... Yeah, you think that would be part of the negotiations, eh? So people are asking in the chat how to use Discord. We'll come to WV King very, very shortly. If anyone else wants to get in and have a chat specifically about what we're talking about here, which is the whatever it's called, government being formed tomorrow, etc., etc. Jump into Discord, head over there to waiting room, put yourself in waiting room, and then we'll drag you into the live call in when we're ready for you. We'll just have a bit of a chat now, and then we'll go have a chat to WV King. Okay, so this is what I think, right? And I was writing this down. And honestly, I'll tell you my process. Obviously, we know who the Prime Minister is, and I wrote down Finance Willis. And what to me it kind of went, do you think Foreign Affairs is the highest profile, most important sort of minister?
Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah. So I thought obviously
there's a lot of prestige there.
I thought one of them
for the New Zealand economy.
So what I came down to is, in my opinion, Peters and Seymour, one will be Deputy Prime Minister, the other will be Foreign Affairs. And I wrote down Peters for Deputy Prime Minister because of his experience, also kind of based on what was just said, they need some experience there, and Seymour for Foreign Affairs. But then I went, what the fuck does Seymour know about Foreign Affairs? This is actually what I went through. And I actually went, you know what? I think possibly foreign affairs is more important than deputy prime ministership. And because of that, my guess is going to be Seymour for deputy, Winston Peters for foreign affairs, Nicola Willis for finance, Christopher Luxon for prime minister.
I would agree with that.
That's what I think. Someone in the chat is saying, oh, they're saying better than Jerry in foreign affairs. So that was the thing. Yeah, and I actually think that the foreign affairs position is more important than the deputy prime minister position. The deputy prime minister position, you might be able to get called acting prime minister when Luxon's out of town, but actually for running the country, I think that's more important. So that's what I'm going to, I've decided that's where I'm going to throw my lot in with. I'm going to throw my lot in with Seymour as deputy prime minister and Winston Peters as foreign affairs. Now, as for the rest of them, social development, education, health, climate change, conservation, police, broadcasting, who the fuck knows? Like, honestly, who the fuck knows?
Police. What's his name? Mercenary guy?
No, sorry, that's right. No, yep, he'll be police, 100%. 100%. Dad in the front, dad in the front seat.
Else rolling over that.
Yep, no, 100%. Dad in the front seat will be police. Yep, good on you.
Simeon Brown, transport minister for mainframe.
Okay. Yep.
Whatever
And also, and Retty will be minister of health.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other question is what are the ACT party guys going to get, and what is New Zealand First? So you got Shane Jones and you got Van Velden. Obviously, those are the two sort of top from those parties. What will they get? I don't know. Let's jump in with WV King and see if he, she, or they have anything to share about this. You cool with that? This is where we always go, as long as it's working. We'll see if it's actually working. Hello, WV King. Are you there, WV King?
Hello.
Yeah, yep, we got you.
Oh, there we go. Hooray.
What can we call you? Your name?
Yes, hello.
Yes, we're with you. We're talking to you. You need to. You
sorry, you're just a little bit delayed on Discord there.
Okay. Well, unless you're listening to us through the YouTube feed, not through Discord. But why don't you just tell us what you want to tell us, and we'll stop talking, and then everyone will get to hear it. That's me in the background. That's me.
That's very delayed.
Okay, so sorry, there's going to be a little bit of delay. Please call me Zane because I made this username when I was like 8 years old, and people keep on picking up on West Virginia. In terms of like why people are so focused on like the deputy prime minister role, I think it's because, and we saw it quite briefly with the whole focus on that conference over in San Francisco, is because I think Christopher Luxon is going to want to be a prime minister that does a lot of foreign trips. So therefore, the deputy prime minister is going to be very important because they are the acting prime minister when the prime minister is away, and they get to chair all of the cabinet meetings where things get discussed, and they will be able to table things that they want to talk about. So the deputy prime minister role could actually be quite an influential role going forward, whereas the deputy prime ministership during 2020, when Labour was in during the pandemic, although important, and yes, as Grant Robertson said, pretty busy, probably not as influential. So that's why I think that they keep on focusing on it, is because whoever is the deputy prime minister is going to be able to have quite a lot of influence in these cabinet meetings.
Who do you think is going to be the deputy prime minister, Zane?
Oh, I definitely think it'll be. I think they might do what like the Irish did in their Grand Coalition recently, after the 2019 election, where they share the deputy prime ministership, and that way both sides get to have their go. Maybe that could be a solution, and because what the Irish did is that they shared the Taoiseach role, the prime minister role, between the two major parties, but there might be a sharing between the deputy prime ministership.
All right, Zane. We'll leave it there just because of that delay. It's kind of causing a little bit of mayhem to the conversation, but that's really interesting. So Zane's going with the shared position as well. I'll tell you, I disagree with one part of the analysis. I think it was really good, really clever, but the only part of the analysis I disagree with from Zane was he said they were focusing on it because of how important it was. I really believe they were focusing on it because you had two egos refusing to give up. Now, I think the byproduct, he might be right, because it is really important. It's a really interesting way to look at it. But I think the reason it took so long to figure it out is you had two men measuring their dicks, not wanting to give an inch to the other person and give them the kudos of perhaps that very important position that Zane's talking about. So that's why I reckon it took longer, as opposed to them really thinking it out and kind of mulling it over. But what Zane says is great. That's great analysis. I take that on board. And I think maybe it will be really, really, really important in that way. So in saying that, Chewy, if that's the case, does that mean that perhaps, look, I'm saying Winston Peters is a better politician, more experience. Yeah. I'm not saying I like his politics, but I'm saying in the world of politics, he's a better politician. So does that therefore mean he should be deputy prime minister? Because what I was basically saying was the deputy wasn't as important. So therefore they'll give it to Seymour and Winston will take the more serious foreign affairs role. But if Zane's correct and there is a huge amount of travel by Luxon, then he's kind of on one level maybe acting as the foreign affairs minister as well. He's certainly taking up some of the slack of the foreign affairs minister. So
yeah, I think the interesting point there for me is, if Luxon is the one that's gallivanting around meeting foreign leaders and going APEC and all of that sort of stuff, which I 100% think that he will do, and it is, and the Prime Minister goes to that sort of stuff. No criticism there at all. I had not thought about the fact that who's running caucus while he's away. Now, that kind of brings a bit of a problem there. Do we think that control of the government caucus can be done by either Seymour or Peters? Who's babysitting at that point? Who makes sure that Simeon Brown has a clean diaper and a fresh bottle? I don't know. But I hadn't considered that aspect of the job, and I think that's a really interesting point. The idea that the deputy prime minister is a largely ceremonial role, I think is definitely worth a giggle, and that's just one example of why. You're not window dressing while daddy's out.
Yeah. And it has to be someone, if the prime minister's overseas and, a cyclone comes through, it can't just be ceremonial. It's like when they're talking about the American election. I know it's not the same, but they're always like, you shouldn't just vote for the president, but the person who would replace the president at a heartbeat. And it's not how we work here, because if something did happen to a prime minister, of serious nature, then there'd be the cabinet would decide. It's actually one of the things I hate about how we do it, because I firmly believe that people vote for a party with that leader. So like when they were voting for National with John Key, they were voting for National with John Key. National with someone else might have given a different voting result. When they voted for Labour with Jacinda Ardern, they were voting for Jacinda Ardern to lead Labour. And I've always thought we should bring in some kind of rule, maybe with a timed period, that if the leader changes within, I don't know, the first 18 months, then there needs to go straight to a snap election. It's just because that's not what we voted for. We being the country, not me, but we've voted for Christopher Luxon to be the prime minister. If after 6 weeks he went, nah, I'm going to give it this away now, which you won't do. But if he did, that's not actually what New Zealand has voted for. They voted for Christopher, even though we don't vote for our prime minister. In effect, they voted for Chris Luxon to lead the country. Yeah.
Who's going to be Minister of Education?
Stanford, Erica Stanford.
God, that's. I think you're right. I think that's a horror show.
I've just started writing them down. Erica Stanford, Education. Mark Mitchell, Police. Mark Mitchell. Simeon Brown, Transport. Retty, Health. What else did we say earlier? Who's going to be broadcasting? I'm still going to go Foreign Affairs.
Melissa Lee. Does she have a broadcasting background?
Maybe we'll do Melissa Lee. This is exciting for people, eh? Me writing on a piece of paper. Foreign affairs. I'm still going to go with Winston, I think. Although he's done that. I also kind of think he's done that. Who knows if he wants to do it again? But then again, he's done deputy prime minister as well. But here's something. What if there's a complete, pulled one out of the bag, completely different, and he went in a completely, what about Winston for a attorney general? Winston Peters AG, went somewhere completely different, because there'd be a part of it, surely, unless the perks were so good you couldn't turn them down, there'd be a part of it, surely you'd kind of go, ugh, I've been here, I've done this, I've shaken these hands before. You know what I mean?
I'm sick of wearing compression socks at the airport.
Yeah. And in the car and going to sleep at night because I'm 174 years old.
Surely Judith Collins, Minister of Pacific Peoples, Talofa.
Yeah, see, social development, broadcasting, Melissa Lee, broadcasting. That's we'll take that. Yeah, maybe I'll have another think later on tonight, and do a little tweet with a bunch of predictions on it as well.
Someone said Shane Jones for broadcasting.
Why would he do broadcasting?
He's pretty lippy when it comes to broadcasting.
What,
Shane?
Shit show. What about Winston? Remember, he was one that said that he threatened Jack Tame that he was going to get into.
Yeah, he just becomes
BVNZ.
the minister for Jack Tame, and that's his job. Is he just has Shane Jones dragging Jack Tame around on a leash everywhere, going, "See, I told you, I'd get you."
Well, this is what I did when I was thinking it through. Look, I mean, these are the current, I guess, still till tomorrow, current positions. Prime Minister, who will be the Minister for Primes? Minister of National Security and Intelligence. I guess that goes with the Prime Minister.
That's always the Prime Minister.
Social Development, Arts, Culture, Heritage, Workplace Safety and Relations. Well, they'll get rid of that. National will get rid of it. ACT doesn't want any of that. For Māori Clan Relations, Minister for Children, Minister for Corrections, Finance, Sport and Recreation, Cyclone Recovery, Foreign Affairs, Disarmament and Arms Control. That'll go. So I won't worry about that anymore. Housing, infrastructure, energy, resource, building and construction, education, women. Maybe Jerry Brownlee will be Minister for Women, probably. That's how they roll. Health, research, science and innovation, broadcasting and media, Māori development, agricultural, biosecurity, land information, trade and export growth, defence, public service, Treaty of Waitangi negotiations, immigration, Attorney General, environment, transport, ACC, forestry, tourism, whānau ora, veterans, voluntary sector, disability issues, diversity, inclusion, and ethnic communities. Well, that'll go.
God.
Don't have to worry about that one anymore. Emergency management, local government, racing. Well, there's Winnie. There you go. We've got one for Winnie. We can put that one in, absolutely. Regional development, rural communities.
Serious question, because this one really bugs me.
Yeah.
Why do we have a minister specifically for racing only? I mean, I know racing used to be big, right?
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of money involved with it and that sort of thing. But why do we still? Wouldn't you just fold that into Minister for Sport?
Sorry. I'm sorry. But I had to laugh. You ready?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Corrections and children.
Oh, booyah. If he gets anything, there will be
surely not.
There will be a hubbub.
The Minister for shut the fuck up.
We'll take some more Discords if you guys want to do it. I mean, as we always say, it's up to you, really. I've just put the link in the chats again. There's the Discord. You can jump into the waiting room, and after our next sort of story, we'll do some more if that's what you guys feel like doing. And if you're not, as we always say on a Thursday night, maybe we'll have a nice early one, which is what we always do. Ain't Chewy? We always have a nice early one on a Thursday. Never. Let's take a very quick break here, though, and just say, if you haven't done so already, I'd like to know from any of you guys, because we kind of said last night, we challenged you all to get another person to sign up for the podcast awards. If anyone did that, let us know in the chat, because that'd be kind of cool to know if that actually did anything. If you haven't done it yet, podcast awards this time next week, they'll be getting announced. Actually, maybe we'll take a live stream of the podcast awards and see us getting nothing. No, I'm just kidding. But if you haven't done it yet and you're interested in doing it, nzpodcastawards.com/nominate. And we're obviously either hashtag BHN or Big Hero News, and the link to the podcast, use one of the audio ones if you want. And if you haven't done it, fantastic. If you have done it, then the challenge for the weekend is to get 2 other people to do it. That's your challenge for the weekend, is to get 2 other people, flatmates, mortal enemies. Maybe you're a doctor, go and slip it to 2 of your patients in hospital and get them to do it as well. nzpodcastawards.com/nominate. Right, Chewy, there's a few super chats and stuff in there that we should say thanks to before we move on. So let's say thanks to Nick, signed in for a self-owned late fee of $5. Appreciate the $5. Also, speaking of the chat we've just been having, JC, $5. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. $5 on it being Winston. That's probably when we're talking about Deputy Prime Minister. $5 on it being Winston, just from body language, tone, etc. But that does leave a big question. What does Rimmer get? I mean, I still kind of feel like the 2 big ones are, well, not Deputy Prime Minister doesn't feel that big, but let's say the ones that are good on the CV. A Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Affairs.
I think he definitely wants it.
Yeah, I think so as well.
And Ministry of Twerks.
Yeah. So I'm still gonna stick by Deputy Prime Minister as Seymour and Foreign Affairs. I'm now sticking onto it so strongly that I know I'm going to be wrong. So I know I'm going to be wrong. Nick also says, hit the like, #1 podcast in Swaziland. Yeah. I should check. Maybe we're not anymore, but we were all this week. And we've got to be clear here. #1 news commentary podcast in Swaziland. It's a couple of steps down from #1 in Swaziland, but we'll take it. We were just talking to Zane. Zane's just sent through a super chat as well. Thank you for that, Zane. It's very generous of you. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Hope I made my point well. Very well. Congrats on Swaziland. Sure, some new merch. Yeah, we did talk about that for next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've probably got 3 t-shirts coming out next week with 3 different things on them, and it will literally just be 1 week. It's been 1 week since you bought some merch, because I don't want to run up against Christmas. So it'll only be 1 week. And remember, the top that I'm wearing has got the OB on the back of it. And you all remember OB stands for Original Beardy. And we're only doing that in 2023. So the BHN merch that'll come back to you next week. It'll be your last chance to get an OB branded limited edition t-shirt or hoodie. And that means when we take over the world in 2029, you'll be able to say, I was there in their initial startup phase. So the OB gear goes away after this week that's coming up. Just a little heads up. That'll be happening for next week, as long as I can get onto it. Oh, Zane sent something else. Spelling mistake. Fee. Is there a spelling mistake? Okay. Meant to say, surely some new merch. That's how I read it. See, there's my dyslexia. I read surely some new merch. What did he say? Sure, some new. Okay. I think I said surely as I read it. So there you go.
Sure.
Thank you, Zane. Thank you for the super chats, and thank you for your participation. Okay, let us get on to the next story of the night, which is what's happening in Hamas. Sorry, not in Hamas, with Hamas and Israel at the moment, because we were talking last night about, the ceasefire, and it's a good start and it's looking okay, and any news is good news. Well, today there's been a little bit of, it's not bad news, but it's like there's been a bit of a hold on what's going on. So let's get to this Silver Fox and find out news from Israel and Gaza. And if you'd like to jump into the Discord, this is pretty much your last chance to do it if you want to have a chat with us tonight, because after this we'll either take some more Discords or wrap up for the night. So head to the link that's in all the chats, jump into the waiting room, and we'll have a chat with you shortly, or we shall sign off. Here we go.
The proposed pause in Middle East hostilities has been delayed by a day. The much talked about truce between Israel and Hamas was meant to start at 9 p.m. tonight, New Zealand time, but has now been postponed. The exact reason why is unclear, but that also delays the release of any hostages. 50 women and children will be freed over 4 days. But if the truce holds, it could be extended by a day at a time. And each time, 10 more hostages will be released.
So that's a nice new addendum, little added up thing, that they could be there for another day, then another day, then another day for 10 more hostages. So that's good to think that they could happen.
Released. Israel has in turn agreed to release 150 Palestinian prisoners currently in its jails, mostly women and under 18s, and again with an agreement to release more if more hostages are freed. Kim Baker-Wilson has today's developments.
News of a truce came too late here. He's lost more than this. His niece is gone, so are 3 brothers and a grandmother. Families say they were killed in an airstrike on a residential building. These people didn't live to see a halt either. More than 100 of them buried in a mass grave. Israel says it's still talking with Hamas about the deal that'll free about 50 of the 240 hostages in Gaza.
I don't know what kind of children will come back to us.
150 Palestinian women and teenagers will also be released from Israeli prisons.
This is a great joy, and I hope that other mothers of prisoners will also rejoice in the release of their sons.
But there's mistrust about the short ceasefire that comes with it. We want a complete ceasefire, she says. We want a truce to stop the bloodshed. And he says it's a full ceasefire or nothing. We're dead anyway, he says.
I'm not trying to make a joke or anything, but he's far too relaxed to be saying what he's saying. Don't you think? The position that he's taking? He's far too laid back to be talking like that. There's a juxtaposition here. I'm not sure why.
Nihilism.
Yeah, maybe that's like
I've
he's
got no control of the situation, so I'm going to chill. And
yeah,
say that we're all dead anyway.
Yeah, maybe that's the look of someone who goes, yeah, look, it's all done. I'm just going to ride out on a massive wave or something. It's the juxtaposition actually demonstrates to me some concern around what's going on. It's like if he's that sort of relaxed about the reality of what he's going through. I'm not saying he's relaxed, but calm. It's just I can't imagine it. Anyway.
I want to be clear. The war is continuing. The war is continuing. And we will continue it until we achieve all of our goals.
Those goals include the release of everyone abducted. Families of some met the Pope at the Vatican. He met separately with relatives of Palestinians back in Gaza. And there, Israel showed what it says is a reinforced tunnel by Al-Shifa Hospital.
Now, we're going to look at this in a minute. I've got the full 9-minute video. I'll explain more about that when we do it, because obviously on the news they show a quick clip.
There is rooms that helps the Hamasis to stay here.
What Israel says is a Hamas command post.
This is the kitchen.
Accusations Hamas and the hospital have long denied. For now, Israel remains fighting. The breakthrough is supposed to halt for a short time the worst Middle East violence in decades. For at least another day, there is more waiting to go. Kim Baker-Wilson, One News.
Least hostilities
there
have
you
been
go,
delayed
Chewy. Yeah, I want to get. I've got the long version of that video. I do want to get to it. Not that we have to rush to it. But what are your thoughts?
God, the footage of people with their dead kids, man. Jesus, I don't even have kids, and just it's a lot.
It's
a lot
and
to watch
not to minimize it.
Like
Not to minimize it. It's not even with their dead kids. That's just with kids. Didn't it say that was his niece? So, I mean, I'm not saying that he should be fine about his niece, but it's even more than that. It's just with space kids. Full stop.
And as far as the reclining blanket, man, I just think how people are weird, man. They react to just something that's just so big and so out of control. People react to stuff weirdly. I know we're going to talk go a bit more in depth onto the tunnels thing, but I found Israel crowing about these tunnels that they've found. Like I saw one of the IDF pages go, SeaWorld, do you believe us now? And it's like, Nobody doubted that Hamas have tunnels. It's a fucking known thing. You're saying that the tunnels are under the hospital, and as we've been saying for weeks, yes, everybody knew that there was a subterranean part of the hospital because you guys built it in the 80s. So if Hamas were doing any tunneling, yes, that was probably going to be part of that complex. But the fact that it's a reinforced tunnel, this isn't surprising. This isn't the smoking gun that they seem to want to make it.
Here's something from the news report as well, right? And I questioned, I've just Googled it literally right now. So you probably know more about this than me, so you can fill me in. The news report said about Hamas denies these tunnels ever existed. So I just Googled, does Hamas deny tunnels exist? And you'll be surprised to know that the result says in October 2014, Hamas leader Khalid Michel denied that the tunnels were ever used to attack civilians. Have any of the tunnels been used to kill civilians or any other residents of such towns? No. So it seems that because that's what I've been saying all along. I've never denied these tunnels. People are they're tunnels there, and as you've just said, the Israelis built them. But I wondered when I heard that in the news story. I mean, maybe it is. So someone's got a link, send it to me, where Hamas denies that the tunnels exist. Like I can see a headline here from the Times of Israel: Hamas denies existence of tunnels under civilian buildings.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
that's-
I want to be clear what I'm saying here with the complex that I'm talking about is under Al Shifra Hospital.
Yeah.
Which Israel has said right from the get-go that Hamas has that they knew for sure that Hamas had a command center under that hospital. I'm not saying whether they did or did not. What I'm saying is that Israel knew that there was a complex under that hospital because there was a reinforced bunker built by them as an emergency operating theater in the 80s. Once they pulled out of Gaza, they had no control over what happened to it. And yeah, but the reason that they knew that they could turn around once they had control of that hospital and say, see, look, the bunker we were telling you about is deceptive.
So let's do this, because I'm pretty sure we're not going to watch all 15 minutes. Don't panic. We're going to watch a couple of minutes at the start. Then I'm going to show you another part, because you guys know I love talking to flat earthers, right? I love talking to conspiracy theorists. I enjoy it. I know most of you would rather chew broken glass, but I kind of enjoy it. What you get from people who think like that is them saying, like, that photo of the sun going down is not evidence that we're on a circular planet. You know, you get this kind of stuff. Like I heard someone say today, someone from an extended group that I know, that someone's got an infection, they're like in their mid-40s, got an infection in their lungs, and they blame the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine from when they were 2 years old, having an infection in their lungs when they're in their mid to late 40s. So so when they are so skeptical like that, it surprises me that when a video like this comes out, they are like, that's all the evidence we need to blow up buildings. Because what you'll see in this video, and look, to be fair, I haven't watched the whole thing. I haven't watched all, like right to the very end, unless it does change, is a man in a tunnel and then a man at the whole entrance to a tunnel. At no point did I see it go up and them show us it go up into the hospital. At no point did it show us going from the tunnel to where he's standing afterwards. And I guess because I sort of do this for a job, it's a very easy edit to say that this is exactly not what they're saying. Like this in a court of law, him saying that this is a tunnel underneath the hospital is not enough evidence to prove that this is a tunnel underneath the hospital. Now, maybe I'm not becoming a conspiracy theorist on the other side, but it is interesting, as Chewy's just said, Chewy down there, that all of a sudden there are a whole bunch of people taking this as absolute gospel, done deal, bomb away, because it's not. And I'm pretty sure there's something of this. I don't know if it's going to be at the start or not. There's something of this where he says, this guy here talks about Hamas building these tunnels.
We are approximately between the Qatarian building is above us, and this is the way to the street, meaning this is a way that goes.
But at no point does he walk that way and show you it going out onto the street.
Outside from the hospital. We are talking about a tunnel which is more than this, only this specific area is more than 300 meters of a tunnel. So this area.
I want to say again, I'm not actually saying it's not that tunnel. I have no idea. All I'm saying, to make it clear to people, is this is not evidence of what they are claiming it is. It may be what they're claiming it is, but this would not stand up in a court of law, or maybe more appropriately in this conversation, in an international court of law.
It goes directly outside of the hospital, approximately to one of the areas outside, maybe a mosque, maybe an apartment.
Doesn't show that.
Blocked. It's blocked and sealed. They knew that we were going to come here more than a month ago, and they sealed it. And now we're going to see the infrastructure of the tunnel. This tunnel is a complex tunnel. It's not the ones that we know. It's more convenient for a long living, like you have toilets and you have rooms that were built in order to contain people. But this room is an operational room that had communication with electricity provided from the sources.
Looks like a shower.
The hospital is providing electricity. This room was evacuated, and all the gear was evacuated. I guess it was evacuated when they knew on this.
So he's trying to say what was in here, but there's no evidence for that. And look, I'll say it again. I don't know if it's that or not. I really genuinely don't. I'm not trying to say it's not. But what I am trying to say is this is not evidence of that yet.
The warriors in front of us are going inside the tunnel. You can see a small kitchen. So
well, they're showing us a toilet,
food, water, etc. All these facilities of water and food are coming from the hospital.
Now you can see I'm scrolling along the bottom here. I'm scrolling to show you. I'm not going to watch it all, but he's just walking through tunnels, 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 showing an opening.
Ends in the hospital. It's a mechanism of a tunnel system that ends in the hospital. Now we're going to.
Now, if it was me and I wanted to prove that that was what I said it was, I would get it cleared out and go up that way and keep it as one shot. It might be. Again, I'm really genuinely not trying to tell you it's not. All I'm trying to say is the people who are using this as carte blanche, absolute evidence, can't use it for that.
Left, go out again.
Because remember, what he's doing is he's telling you what's up above it all, not showing you. Walking, walking, walking. You can see down the bottom I'm scrolling. Walking, walking, walking. He shows some stairs.
But we will show you, because remember the movie that we showed with the drone? It ends here.
And at some point, here we go. He fades from inside to outside. Here it goes. I'll play this bit for you. And there's a fade coming up. Walking, walking, walking. And then they're outside.
Outside the compound of Shifa Hospital.
Now, maybe.
Just walk 50 meters from the hospital.
Maybe.
And this is the entrance from outside the street. I want you to look closely. It's the same mechanism.
You know, I just look, I'm not trying to say, so fuck it, they're wrong. I have no idea. But what I am saying is it's not the smoking bullet that many online are saying it is. That's what I'm saying. I mean, if I was producing that video, I would be passing the camera up through that gap so you could see it. And then I'd be spinning it to go, and there's the hospital. They don't even do that. So, you know, it's, what is it? And we have a history of propaganda from both sides, but we're talking about Israel at the moment, from the IDF. Remember, they're carrying the things into the hospital, saying medical supplies in English written on the side, and let alone the known lies that they've told as well. I'm not saying that Hamas doesn't. Absolutely, they're a terrorist organization. But the only point I'm trying to make here, the only point is you can't use this as evidence for what they say it is. It might be, but that would not stand up in a court of law without being walked through in real time and showing everything. And it doesn't do that, Cherry. That's all I'm saying.
I want to also talk about another aspect, right? A tunnel is a tunnel. It is not an offensive weapon. We weren't shown like torture chambers or anything really. What's the Gazans' experience of when Israel gets annoyed with them, they get bombed? I would like Gaza City must be a warren of tunnels, because if you're going to get absolutely bombed from the air and shelled by Israel, then the best idea is to go underground. And that's been Hamas's MO and the PLO's MO for decades. The Israelis have always known that there's tunnels under Gaza.
Yeah,
like if you, they might go under the hospital. Like the argument was that Hamas was using the hospital as a headquarters, as a point of command and control. And they haven't shown us anything. They've shown us a plastic shopping bag with an AK-47, some rusty magazines, 2 cans of WD-40, weirdly an Arabic translation of Mein Kampf, and as someone in the chat said, this worst, grand design tour ever.
Someone did MTV Cribs.
Yeah. Welcome to my crib. I have a weird tiled room, bad toilet, small kitchenette. And we've got to see this for what it is. This is full-on IDF intelligence / public relations guy trying to build a smoking gun out of nothing when they really, they don't need to. They didn't need to. They're trying to justify bombing a hospital and a huge amount of public infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, absolutely just carving their way through a densely populated city with reckless abandon.
Yeah.
Rather than going for the absolutely justifiable case of Hamas came into our house and attacked us, and we are going to go it's weird, right? If they showed some restraint, some intelligence, and some targeting, the world would have gone, yeah, this seems fine to us. The reason the world's reacted the way it is because we can see it for what it is, an egregious and psychotic overstep by Israel. And we can't believe the IDF. We can't believe the Israeli government. We can't believe Hamas. And what we're seeing is right from the get-go, what we've said all the way along, that the people paying the price are the civilians stuck in the middle. And the IDF had better options that they could have used, and they chose not to.
Yeah. So 2 things, right? The first thing is that was the worst, and I've been mixing my metaphors. I've been saying smoking bullet. Silver bullet is what I've been meaning to say. Because Chewie just said smoking gun. I went, oh shit. I've been saying smoking bullet. That is the worst conviction video in the history of the world. If it was exactly what they say it was, then those people should be fired from their propaganda job, because you could very easily bring it up into the hospital. I just scrolled through some more of it. You saw me doing it. At no point did they show the hospital. So that's if it is what it is, then those people need to get fired from their propaganda jobs. However, even if it is what they say it is, right? If it's exactly what they say it is, if it's exactly what they say that Hamas have been using them going backwards and forwards, and and for whatever reason, that's still not a asterisk at the bottom of the Geneva Convention that says, okay, now you can bomb civilian locations. There's nothing in the Geneva Convention, especially Article 33 about collective punishment, that says, if there's tunnels, fill your boots, mate.
Hard.
Even if it is what Israel's saying it is, that's still not the answer for them to be able to bomb civilians and kill. I didn't say this last night, but there's reports by an international group that there's 4,500 people missing under the rubble in Gaza, which means the actual tally is more like 20 to 25,000. They haven't been counted in that fully tally yet.
We'll get to 20,000 plus pretty
it's already quickly. At 20. It's already at 20,000. Yeah. So the tunnels don't therefore give them the right to do that. So either way, if they're wrong, then it's terrible propaganda because they haven't done it well. And if they're right, that still doesn't give them legally the ability to kill civilians and blow up civilian areas and force people to move away from areas to leave their homes. That is the absolute dictionary definition of collective punishment, which is a war crime, Chewie.
I'm going to highlight a comment here from the chat from Kiwi Burb. The Israeli government sucks at propaganda. I think this is actually, there's a good point here. If you're generally, Israel doesn't have to justify their actions to the international community. We pretty much just let him go, right? And this seems to have kind of caught them out here, is that people are reacting very badly to what they're doing. And I think part of the thing is that they're bad at propaganda is because they're out of practice. Like, they don't have to justify what they do often. And when they do, it's to a population that is highly militarized, highly controlled, and is generally pretty like, yeah, rock and roll, let's go, yay, Israel. So when it comes to talking to the international community that might not be buying the line that they're selling, yeah, it comes out super fucking clumsy. I think you see the same thing when you're talking about Russia. You know, Russia put out their propaganda efforts of what's really happening in Ukraine and their reasons for their 3-day special operation. They just don't land the same way in a freer society or somewhere that has more access to more information. And you just go, no, this isn't it.
It's the equivalent of being surrounded by yes men. In other words, Putin never hears, we could do this better, so he never has to. What you're saying is Israel never hears, you need to do this better, so perhaps that is actually the best they can do with their propaganda. And whether it's right or wrong, as you say, it's still pretty bad. Hey, we've got Autotrot in the chat. Shall we do one more chat and then head off for the night? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Okay, so this will be our last chat of the night. The person who we're about to get on, Autotrot, you can turn your mic on. I'll grab you in a sec. Is a regular, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name because I know there's no name because I recognize the graphic. So I'll pull you across and say, hello there. Remind us, please, of who we're speaking to. I'm sorry, I forgot.
It's Josie.
What was the name again?
Can you hear me? Josie.
Josie,
can you hear me all right?
That's right. No, I recognize your icon there, but I forgot the name. Hey, Josie, what's up?
Hey, I heard. Well, you guys might be seeing a lot of discourse around this over the weekend or even over today. You're talking to one of the co-arrestees from the Ports of Auckland blockade today.
Okay, explain that to me. I haven't seen the news. No, tell me.
So today, around 3 o'clock, 3:04ish, a bunch of people who are protesting the continuing whitelisting of Israeli goods through the Ports of Auckland blocked the roads in and out for a good bit, and it got pretty hectic pretty quickly. I think about 6 people were arrested. There's footage online now of someone getting spear tackled whilst he had his hands up
by a police officer. I did actually see that.
Officer.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was just looking for that. It was pretty ruthless. I didn't see it happen. I was trying to see from the back of the paddy wagon. Let me tell you, in the middle of the afternoon, those things are fucking hot.
So just pause for a sec, Josie, to bring everyone else up to date, because I've got I don't know if you can see your screen, but I've got the story up on the screen. So let me just read it. Israel Hamas war, police arrest 6 after a clash with pro-Palestine protesters blocking entrance to ports of Auckland. Dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters blocked an entrance to the port of Auckland as a large police presence saw 6 arrested, including a man who threw a bottle at an officer. The Herald learned that the protest was against the importing of Israeli goods, with one protester threatening to remove a hummus product co-owned by an Israeli company from New Zealand supermarket shelves. As of 5 p.m. today, about 12 police cars and vans were at the scene of the protest on Solent Street, which leads up to the port in downtown Auckland. So there's the story. You were the one of the group that was arrested. Tell us, why were you doing it?
Again, it was to a regular protest action to say stop whitelisting Israeli goods, join the I suppose boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. But it was also a message towards the members of the Maritime Union to demand that of the ports as well, and even possibly to go on strike for it.
What was your?
I'm going to say about the bottle.
What was your experience?
Just 1 second.
Yeah, you go. Sorry.
The bottle wasn't thrown. They were trying to splash water at them, and I watched it happen. They tried to splash water at them, and then someone tried to stop them throwing it with their hand, and then they ended up letting go. was not a proper throw, and it was a plastic water bottle.
What was your experience?
No damage done from that.
What was your experience like being arrested? How did the police treat you? What happened at the station?
Yes. So, being arrested, as you can imagine, they do some real interesting grabs of your hands, and it really fucking hurts, like real jujitsu hold kind of thing. And they just kind of grab you out. Apparently, a lot of the people who were arrested after me had it harder. I was the first one to go. But again, I can't give you too much of a debrief about what happened to everyone else because I was watching what was going on from the back of the paddy wagon. They're pretty standard treatment from cops, sort of. I remember seeing from the back of the paddy wagon, as a few of the cops came off the line, they were watching the videos and the paddy wagon itself and kind of having a bit of a laugh about it. What else? A couple of us wanted to have our cuffs loosened a bit because they were tight as shit. Didn't do that till much later. It got a bit hectic. But after that, it was pretty standard processing. Protesters for cops in the city is pretty small chips. They don't want to go through all the fucking processing and paperwork. They just kind of they gave us our charges, which are obstruction, and basically sent us out.
Right. Just pause for a sec, Josie.
I could say that for 3 of us. I'm not sure about the rest.
Okay, just pause for a sec because I found the clip that I saw this afternoon. We'll show it to people so they can see what you're talking about. So this is one of your fellow protesters, and I've seen this, so I'm going to preface it. Runs up towards the police, and there is a very, very tight, short, intimate where he does stop and put his hands behind his back as the police officer is sort of hitting him. Now, I'm not saying that what the police officer done okay, but it wasn't like he was standing with his hands behind his back for 5 or 10 seconds. It's all pretty timed. So let's just have a look at it so people can see if you haven't seen it. And it is a bit disturbing. This TikTok actually had a warning of it being disturbing to watch. I had to say yes, I'm happy to watch it. So if you're of that kind of disposition, just be warned. Here it comes. Actually, that wasn't even as bad because you didn't see the person land. Has your version got someone landing, Chewy?
Yeah, but I just got rid of it. So give me a wee second, I'll find it again.
Because actually, it's the landing that is one of the more disturbing parts of the whole thing, because he hits pretty hard.
Yeah.
So where you got it? Okay, you bring yours up, Chewy, and we'll have a look at it. Because it's actually that's what I was most uncomfortable with was the guy hitting the ground. So here we go. Thanks, Chewy.
That's a big hit right onto his on concrete.
Yeah. Do you have any? Let's take that volume down if you're Joe. Josie, do you have any knowledge of what the person was doing, what they were thinking, what was going on? So he didn't have his hands behind his back; he had his hands out to the side, like in a crucifix.
Again, where this happens is a bit down the way from the port. So he was running and doing something, but he was not really blocking anything. He was just kind of there. I wouldn't know unless that person actually comes forward and kind of talks about what's happening, which might happen in like the next day or 2.
Was that person arrested as well?
I'm gonna go with a yes.
Okay, but I'm just saying,
Again,
were you in the back?
3 paddy wagons there. I was in the first one.
Okay. So they were arrested, but not in your paddy wagon. Tell us why you felt the need to do this.
Again, just to exert political pressure. Again, I think it's gonna be of a like similar dynamic where people kind of look at these kind of actions the same way that they might look at other protest movements. 81 comes to mind. But any other things, like I think that the reason for which we're doing it, that like the political content of what we're doing justifies being this disruptive.
Okay, so what in an ideal world, where does your protest lead? What's the end you want to get out of? And I'm assuming this is going to be a series of protests. Most people who do this kind of thing aren't just in it for one hit. So what's the objective? If you could wave the magic wand, what does your protest achieve?
Again, blacklisting of Israeli goods. Possible, like if it went to the level of parliament, sanctions being laid. One of the smaller goals is just to have the Israeli ambassador expelled, and to have Palestine recognized as a state. Those are definite immediate goals that can be achieved by a movement like this.
And does the protest, just remind me, is it affiliated with any one particular group? I'm sorry if you've said that, but I was looking for videos at the same time. Is it a particular group that's done this, or just a group of citizens?
No, there was one that introduced themselves to me. They actually came down and gave me some lollies and some water after I came out of the mountain, like after the processing. But I think it was called Action for Palestine, but I could not remember because I just wanted to go home and have a shower. So yeah, I think it was that group, not Palestine Solidarity Network. I think they were there for a little bit, but Action for Palestine Auckland or something was the one who was organizing it.
Now, Chewy, you've been much more involved with protest than me. Is there anything you want to say or ask?
I've seen a little bit of footage. Someone drew my attention to it not long before we went to air, so I was aware of that tackle footage and that sort of thing. I've seen a little bit of other footage where it was just a group of probably about 20 to 30 people sitting down, blocking entrance to the port. It didn't, like, a very, very traditional sort of passive resistance sort of protest. So to see that sort of escalation to someone essentially being spear tackled onto their hip, onto concrete right next to a big rock, I don't see how they got to that point. So yeah, I'm looking forward is the wrong word, but I'm interested to see what other footage and what other narratives are going to come out of this, because pretty much all the pro-Palestinian protests that I've seen from here in Dunedin, Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland, considering the emotions involved, I think have been really well controlled.
Yeah. So there's your inside scoop.
Or I was actually going to say, if other media picked up on the, is the group speaking to media at all? Like, I mean, what would it be wise for you to? How do I word this? If this was a group of concerned citizens, then you're not really the spokesperson for that. Would that be fair to say?
No.
So if it's just a group of concerned citizens, I can't really say what are your demands, because that might be your personal view, but not the group's view. But if there was media, because obviously the stories in the media who picked up on this conversation right now, what would you want to tell them about what's behind what you guys are doing or what you are trying to achieve? Because from my mind, right, I kind of think sometimes about what's the end goal here. Like, and I'm not saying this to talk down what you're doing. It's just, this is how I think about the full picture. Like, how many of these Israeli businesses in New Zealand are also on the side of stop the war? Does that matter? Or is it about, putting something towards the Israeli government, even if the Israeli businesses in New Zealand are quote unquote the good guys and on your side? How do you go through all that?
Oh, all right. That's a toughie.
Well, just because, I asked that because remember, there's polls in Israel that say 75% of the population aren't with Netanyahu on these actions. So it's not that I'm saying what you did was wrong. It's that for a full and real conversation, we should go, how do you do that? I mean, there may be Israelis in New Zealand who would be on your side that you might be protesting their business. Does that matter? Me not saying that it does matter, but does that matter? How do you guys work that through?
I think if there were Israeli businesses that had headquarters in New Zealand or used Israeli goods, there's a number of things they could do. They could, if they still have to pay tax to Israel here, maybe as a protest, withhold it, pass along money to Palestinian groups, maybe even change the people in their supply chain where they're getting it from, while still trying to make the same or a similar product. I think that there's a number of actions that they can do to be able to join in on the movement of boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning. I guess in that case, that would be divesting.
Right. And so if, say, one of those guys was listening, where could you send them to? Where would be a place they could go find out more about this?
I think the Palestine Solidarity Network is a good group, especially if they're in New Zealand, to be able to like find out different avenues of action they could go through. Geez, apart from that, wait. So, like, what do you mean by groups? Like, what kind of groups are we talking?
Oh, I'm more thinking if someone wants to find out more about it. Like, so for example, I've got up on my screen right now the thumbnail I used for tonight, and you know there are Jewish groups, there are Israelis groups who are also saying ceasefire now.
Yeah.
I know that we've already said that you're just an individual, you know, participating off your own bat. But if there are groups out there who want to like get together or become a part of this movement that you've become a part of as an individual, I guess I'm just saying, is there somewhere you could direct them or send them or anything like that?
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, especially for any other Jewish people that feel opposition for this war, don't know where to go. There's a group online. They're on Twitter. I think they're on Facebook and Instagram as well, called Dayenu. That's DAYENU. And they organize a lot of actions in support of Palestine. That's a really good group. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments, Chewy, before we let Josie move on?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I would say the same to anyone that feels motivated to stand up for something like this that they believe in. Good on you. It's very easy to post about it on social media and get the old care reacts. It's another thing to actually go down and put your name and sometimes your body on the line for something you believe in. Good stuff.
Hey, Josie, thanks for giving us a call. I think that's what we say on Discord. Thanks for calling in today, and we'll talk to you another time.
All right. Catch ya.
Appreciate it, man. All the best.
Cheers, man.
Interesting. Looking up Dayenu. I'm actually not looking up the group. I'm looking up it's actually a song. Dayenu is a song that is part of the Jewish holiday of Passover. The word Dayenu means approximately, it would have been enough. It would have been enough. It would have been sufficient, or it would have sufficed. That's what that word Dayenu means. All right. Hey, well, that was a bit of a different wrap up to the show. Thank you for joining us tonight. Chewy, anything you want to get in there? I obviously haven't been watching any of the chats, but is there anything you want to put out there before we head off for the week?
I think we covered off everything that I started.
Here's a good one. Here's a good one for you from Emma. Why do they use under 18s? Just say children. Yeah. I used to talk about this a lot when I was doing talkback, is that if the person wanted to be seen in the news as in a negative, like if it was a convicted, such and such convicted, they'd say 18-year-old man convicted of da-da-da-da-da. But if they were the victim of a crime, they'd say 18-year-old youth king hit by, you know, and it was a real noticeable thing that was in the media, including the place I worked at, News Talk ZB. If they wanted to paint the person as scary and menacing and bad, they always used the 18-year-old and the word man. And if they wanted to paint them as a victim, they always referred to them as youth or child or young adult.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. My ears pricked up that as well. You know, the Israel is releasing prisoners, including women and prisoners under 18.
Yeah.
So they're releasing women and children that they've held as prisoners. Got it.
All right.
But that's different from the women and children that Hamas brutally killed. Just different rules, different words matter.
Remember if you haven't already, to subscribe to whatever platform you're watching us on and to hit a notification bell if there is one for that platform. I don't think there's a notification bell for Twitter, is there? And we will possibly be here on some form tomorrow, even if I just jump in and have a chat. But because obviously the government's being announced tomorrow, we'll see what the results of that is going to be. So we may see you tomorrow night. If you're a paid up patron, like if you're a patron who pays, then you can join us on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. for a virtual meetup. And other than that, we'll be back Monday night from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hero News. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for that call, Josie. It was really good to hear from you. And yeah, it's good to hear the stories as to the people as to why they're doing. Yeah, as Felix just said, appreciate the extra knowledge tonight. I'm putting that firmly in the camp of Josie's calling, so we do appreciate that. All right, team. I think we're done, aren't we, Chewy? Anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, I think that's everything. I'm sure many of you have, but obviously if you hit that subscribe and notification, smash that bell on YouTube if we do decide to do an impromptu wrap up of whatever nationals that's out of the bag tomorrow, then you'll know when we do it.
Cool. All the best, team. Stay safe through the weekend. See you Monday night. And if you feel so inclined, remember you can vote for us in the NZ Podcast Awards, and get a couple of your flatmates to vote this weekend as well. And let's do to BHN what John Oliver did to Forrest and Bird, and rig the system to get us over the line. Appreciate you all. We'll see you either tomorrow or Monday for another edition. Stay safe. I'll catch you later on. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.